Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Pops is streaming right now, so I thought it was probably best if we actually did all of you just started here in the garage, because in the workshop is where the rest of the videos can take place anyway, so might as well start here rather than have a change of scenery. We'll just start at the beginning, just punch the paint can. So, what console are we modding today? Well, it's the illustrious PlayStation 1, the N64's biggest rival. And that is because the PlayStation 1 demolished the N64 as far as sales and the such was concerned. And speaking as a Sega fan, that makes me very happy. The N64, I think, sold about 30 million copies, and the PlayStation 1 here sold over 100 million copies.
Cry about that, you dirty old bitch!
The proper Bonnie Blue treatment there. First thing we need to do, HDMI solution. We've got to get it hooked up to the TV and blasting out in beautiful, beautiful, beautiful HDMI HD isms. So we have the Retro Gem HDMI. It comes as a, it's not the shiny one, it's the basic one, but we have to upgrade it to the shiny one via the interwebs. So we will be doing that. I got that from Z Labs. You should check them out. Links in the description below. If you're in the UK isms, this is where I get a lot of my stuff from, because they just seem to have a lot of stock of all sorts of cool shit. So yeah, we got the Retro Gem HDMI kit. We have also got the XStation, which I have to be very careful with. So the XStation is an ODE, or optical disc emulator, if you will. That then basically means that you can then not have a disk drive in the damn thing, and you can just plug in memory cards, and then have all of the games on a memory card that you already own perfectly legally. That's fine. I have a 1 terabyte SD card as well, a 1 terabyte SD card to go in there. So the entire US catalog is around about 500 gigs. Just over, and then you've got the PAL exclusives, which is another 100 or so gigs just doing exclusives, and then you've also got some cool Japanese weird stuff that you might want to get on there as well. So yeah, so I went with a full terabyte, so that way I should have plenty of space on there. That being said, it's taken me, I've been collecting PlayStation 1 games for a very long time, and I'm only up to about 380 gigs, and it's taking forever. Concerning me, how long it's going to take for me to do other consoles with bigger games, but that's a future Dan problem to worry about. And then also, just to finally set this off, the pièce de résistance. I got a mate of mine to 3D print out an XStation cover type thing. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, which is a nice little cover which will replace this thing here, which you can't see because the camera angle. It replaces this thing. Hang on. We're professional. That bit there, which is all black, which is where the laser thing goes, because that's going and getting replaced with a thing.
What?
So I've had a look at the Retro Gem installation guide for the PlayStation 1, and it makes the N64 guide look like child's play. There is loads more to solder. We have to replace capacitors and get them facing the right way, and we have to do loads more solderings, much more smaller, and yeah, it looks fucking really difficult. So there's definitely a high chance that I will fuck this one up as well. So that's good. The XStation that I got has 4 plastic pegs in there, which I've checked, which they are just like kind of risers basically to kind of lift it off the motherboard or off the base. So they just kind of like lift it up basically. They act as little feet. But my pack only came with 3. And then I subsequently dropped the box and emptied its contents all over my game room and could only find 2. So I'm going to have to jerry-rig some extra parts for that. Speaking of jerry-rig, to solve the camera issue that we had before, I done made this. out of some draw runners. Check that shit out. Boingy, boingy, boingy. So I'll be able to attach the camera to that and zhuzh it out, and then it'll be looking down. So we'll get a different camera angle. I'm not even in shot now. I'm not even... So we will be able to get decent shots, hopefully more better shots, less blurry, less fuckered upped. So another thing, so we're replacing the disk drive, but I actually have a large copy of physical media for the PlayStation 1, and I would like to keep that, that I can still use that. Obviously I won't be able to do that if I've replaced the disc reader laser thing, right? But that's not a problem, because I have some faulty PlayStation 1s, which we're going to try and fix. This many broken PlayStation 1s, this many 6. I have no idea how I ended up with these. I think they gave them away with fucking Happy Meals or something like that. Okay. But they all have various different issues. For instance, this one has got no screws, and also won't read discs, and the eject button is broken. Oh, that one's fine. So I've been through, tested them all, and checked to see what the problems are. So all have different ones. Mostly read errors. They won't read discs. Hopefully, by using an OED, we won't have to worry about that because we'll have a laser in there, and that's the only problem. But they all have some other issues in some way, shape, or form. So I've selected out of all of these this one here, because the only problems with this are that it powers on, it recognises that it's a PlayStation 1 disc, because some of them don't even do that. However, it will not boot the disc. It does have a good signal coming out the back, so hopefully the GPU is fine. And also the power button sticks. It's a bit gammy, so that's going to need some cleaning. First of all, let's have a look at what we get in the Retro Gem kit. First we get the daughter board itself. Ooh, very swizzy snazzy. Another daughter board. 3 ribbon cables this time. A Wi-Fi adapter. Some replacement capacitors and some other screws and other gubbiny type things. And a 3D printed shroud for the back. So, a lot more complicated than the HD64 kit.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
Then, in the XStation kit, we get another ribbon cable, and another daughter board, and another daughter board, and some pegs that are missing. Right, no fucking about, let's get this puppy taken apart. 6 Phillips screws underneath, super easy to come out, and then that enables you to take the top off. Then undo a couple of these little ribbon cables, and then that gets rid of the laser. A few more Phillips screws to take off this top cover, and then that gets us down to the motherboard. Then there's a few more screws to separate the motherboard out from the underneath cover. After watching back the footage for the N64, I spotted that there was like a load of people scuzz left in there that I hadn't noticed when I was doing it. So for the PS1, we're actually going to take it all apart and give it a bit of a clean. So a couple of screws and out come the power supply, and I also need to pop out the power button as well, because like, look at that scuzz there, just kind of floating around in there. The final job before we get down to the motherboard is getting rid of this RF shield, and we're not going to replace this. I'm pretty sure we don't need it. It's stupid regulations from back in the day, and I'm not entirely sure it actually did anything anyway. And this is just held in place by a load of legs which are just soldered to the board. Fairly straightforward. You just heat up the solder and then prise it apart with some tweezers and it'll pop off. You just have to remember there is quite a big hefty one that's kind of in the middle that's hidden and I wasn't aware of. But again, fairly straightforward. Just heat it all up and put a little bit of pressure, tiny bit of pressure, and eventually it'll just pop off. No big deal. Now we're going to remove the AV port because that's where the HDMI port's going to go. Just flip her over, heat up, add a bit of extra solder maybe, and then use the Amazon Basics desoldering popper pump gun thing, and then yeah, off it comes. Next thing to come off the board is these 3 large capacitors here, and then this slightly smaller capacitor there. They're going to get replaced with tantalums because they stand a little bit too high up, and that's where the Retro Gem's going to sit. But as with all removey type things, you heat it up until it becomes a little bit loose, and then you just kind of pull it off. Nice. We also need to remove this teeny tiny thing here, because that does something about controlling the clock for the PlayStation, and we're going to get the Retro Gem to do that as well. So we don't need that, so that needs to come off as well. I don't have any footage of that because it's so teeny tiny, and the zooming in on the camera just made it an awful blurry mess. Just kind of heat it up and just kind of give it a nudge, and off it came. Now it's finally time to start adding stuff back. First we need to solder these tiny fuckers onto them pads where the capacitors came from. We start just by tinning them up first, and then it's just a case of holding them in place, heating them up and getting them soldered in, really. There's no great magic to this, it's just a bit of time and patience. You'll see the capacitors have a red line on them, which I think is the positive. I don't know which way is positive or negative, whatever, but they need to be down at the bottom apparently. And then the little one, that's got a line on it, and that should be on the inside of the board, facing inwards. But yeah, no great magic to this, just hold them, heat them, and try and get them straight. And that's about it. I then decided to do the easiest of the ribbon cables, which is the control pad interface one, which just connects up to this section here. It was actually really surprisingly easy. It was just a case of holding it in place and then heating up one of the pads with the soldering iron just to kind of get it tacked in place. Then just adding a bit of solder to each of the pads, flipping it round and doing the same on the other side.
Just like your mother.
And this was actually fairly uneventful. This just kind of went on and was pretty sweet. I then decided to tackle the second hardest ribbon cable, which is the one that connects up to the audio chip. It's got like a couple of gnarly little chips that are kind of really close to it, so it's got a split in it, and they're quite a bit smaller than the ones that go to the controller. But you know, I was feeling confident, and I was going to do the same thing that I did last time. So I started just by tacking each side of it just to make sure it was all lined up. Then went to add some solder, and then this happened. Okay, so it would appear I've completely butchered the audio cable, ribbon cable, and all of the contacts and everything, because it looks like an absolute fucking mess. That is just one big nasty blob of shame. It's just a big gnarly mess of solder. And this is why I only mod my stuff. So out comes copious amounts of flux and a soldering braid to try and mop all that mess up. I then eventually worked the ribbon cable free and then just carried on with the flux and with the braid and the flux and the braid and the flux and the braid in a desperate hope to try and salvage this absolute mess. So then we are at the end of, I think this is day 2 actually, of trying to mod this PS1. Yeah, I've spent about another hour, yeah, probably about an hour, about half a kilometre's worth of soldering wick and about 1.5 gallons of flux, and I have made it a little bit better. Unfortunately, a little teeny tiny, what I think is a transistor, has come off completely now, and I don't know the orientation of it. It doesn't appear to be marked with like a positive or a negative side, you know, like some of the others. So hopefully it can just go on either way and it will just work. I don't know, but I don't know. I think we are definitely at 1,000,001 shot now of me getting this working. But we will keep trying and we'll see where we go. I'm gonna have to try and solder in this little tiny piece, otherwise I'll just lose it. I've got most of it off, but it is still bridging probably about 7 or 8 pins. That is what's come off the board, and I need to try and reattach that. Also, my batteries are running low as well. Not mine, well, my batteries as well, but the camera batteries are running low as well. So I'm going to get both of them on charge and we'll call it a night and have a curry with the folks and the missus. It's a lot harder than the N64. Like the N64 I did in an afternoon, the whole lot. But like this, I mean, I'm happy with like, I got the tantalums done and I got another few little bits done, and I'm quite happy with the first ribbon cable. That seems to be okay. Right, anyway, let's call it a night and see where we'll are tomorrow, eh?
Tomorrow.
Right, so I've been trying for a good while longer now. We're like on day 3 or 4 now of me trying to get this mod in. This is by no means a tutorial, obviously. This is just a vlog of me trying to do it. There's like a few that are still bridged, and that little tiny semiconductor has been knocked, but I can move that back, that's fine. I don't know what to do now, whether we try and solder it on there and hope that we can coax that solder back, or whether we keep doing what we're doing, or will I add some more solder and try and use the vacuum thing.
Thousands of tears later.
So I think I've cleared them. I think. But they look pretty gnarly. If you look, from what I can see, they're all separated out. They look gnarly as hell. But what I'm hoping is that's all going to get bypassed, because it goes from there. The sound chip, we're going to be sort of basically bypassing and then going straight through to the the HDMI output. So I'm hoping the fact that they may not be connected properly or might not be working down there, I'm hoping won't be an issue. But I have a distinct feeling that this is going to be an issue. I need to connect this little fella, give you an idea of scale. This little fella up onto there as well. So I need to put him in next. So I reseated my little buddy here for I think the third time now, and that, I mean, that was sort of fairly straightforward and fairly easy. And then it came to tackling the ribbon cable again. Thankfully, because it had been clagged in solder so many times, it had effectively been like pre-tinned now. I just had to put it in place, and then when I was sort of tacking it, it was effectively kind of melting over onto it and making a solid bridge. So that actually kind of went okay this time. So lesson learned, pre-tinning is the way forwards. Okay, I think I might have saved it. Maybe. I mean, that looks okay to me. That looks fine. Whether or not it is or not's another matter. We'll just have to see now, right? So that's the easy one done. And the middling difficult one done. Now comes the hard one. We've now got to try and solder all of these little bad boys onto all of those little bad boys. This is going to go horribly wrong. So getting this ribbon cable seated was not what I would describe as easy. But we gave it the good old college try, and we tried again, and we tried again, and we tried again, and we tried again. And eventually I kind of figured I'd sort of pretty much got it in place, got it tacked down, added the faintest, tiniest amount of solder to it, and then started doing a bit of drag soldering across the whole lot to try and get it going. And then, yeah. Well, I at first thought it was going well, and it was actually looking alright, it would appear it is not. It appears to have slipped across one pin across the whole lot. And it's all lined up, but on the wrong pins. So I've got to unpick the whole lot and try again. Like, what is the point in having this much zoom if it can't focus? Like this first pin here. It looks as though it's bridged as well, but it's meant to be connected to that copper pad, not to that first pin there. So it's swapped. We got to do it again. So I peeled it off and gave it another try, but that didn't go particularly well either, and just ended up welding itself together. Honestly, I have no idea how people do this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm doing something wrong, presumably, otherwise it would work. When I've seen other people do it, they cover it in flux, and then they get like a chisel thing, a chisel tip, and they just go across the whole lot, and it just kind of, all of the solder just kind of meets up in where it's meant to go, and just does a nice, and I've seen people do it in a single run, just go like that. And mine just turns into an absolute what the fuck. I managed to detach it and then tried it again, and it's just all over the place. So I'm gonna have to try again. I think I'm gonna give it one more shot, and if I can't get it on the third time lucky, then I'm gonna have to call it quits, which doesn't bode well because I need those similar. It's a similar kind of thing to do the PlayStation 2 and also to do an original Xbox. If I can't, then this is going to be a fail video. This is going to be I failed to mod a PlayStation 1. So I could probably get in touch with Z Labs, get a set of cables. I'd have to pay someone to fit it, which I don't really want to do. The whole point was that I was going to do it. It's not really a video, is it? I paid somebody to mod my PlayStation. Look how good. And then we gave it another try, and that one was just even worse. It's just dead. I've just killed a PlayStation 1. I'm terribly sorry, but it was already broken. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I still have the Retro Gem. I'm going to get in touch with Z Labs and see if they can sell me a set of replacement cables. Salvage the replacement capacitors off this. I'll have to have a look at one of the other boards that I've got and see if the XStation works with that. I don't know. It's a fail. I'm sorry to fail. I'm sorry that this is going to be a rather unsatisfactory video, but this is what happens when you try something new and you don't know what you're doing. But, you know, I'm still smiling, and we'll give it another bash another day. It's not the end of the modding trip. You know, I've killed this one. Hopefully the next one will work. I guess that's it. I think I'm just going to end the video with that. It's dead.
Is it? Oh shit.
Anyway, I'll wrap it up there. Right, cheers. See you later, guys. Join me for the next fun-filled one where maybe I'll actually succeed and it'll work. Alright, cheers, bye.
What's happened?